The knocking started at 11:47 p.m. 3 sharp raps that made my blood run cold. I froze with my daughter still latched to my breast, her twin brother sleeping in the bassinet beside me. Nobody knew where I was. Nobody had found me in 3 years. Until tonight. When I looked through the peephole, I saw him. Luca Moretti. The man I'd run from. The father of my children. The most dangerous crime boss in New York. And he was collapsing against my door. Blood soaked through his white shirt. His face, the one that still haunted my dreams, was pale as death. Our eyes met through that tiny circle of glass. Recognition. Shock. And something that looked like relief before his eyes rolled back. I'm Sophia Reeves. Or I was. Now I'm Sarah Bennett, single mother, living in a town so small it doesn't have a stoplight. I ran from the Moretti empire 3 years ago with a secret that could get me killed. I was pregnant with Luca Moretti's twins. He never knew. I made sure he'd never find out. But somehow, tonight, he found me. And he was bleeding out on my doorstep. This is the story of how a one-night mistake became a 3-year exile. How love and fear became the same thing. And how the man I thought I'd escaped forever came crashing back into my life with twins I couldn't explain and a past I couldn't outrun. It started 3 years and 4 months ago. In a Manhattan penthouse. With champagne I shouldn't have drunk and a man I should never have touched. 3 years and 4 months earlier, I was someone different. Sophia Reeves. 26. Executive assistant to Marcus Davenport, CEO of Davenport Holdings, one of the largest real estate development firms in New York. Translation: I managed the schedule, filtered the calls, and made sure Marcus looked good at meetings he barely prepared for. It wasn't glamorous. But it paid my student loans. The night everything changed started normally enough. Marcus had a meeting. Not at the office. At a private club in Tribeca. The kind with no sign on the door and a man in a suit who checked your name against a list. Sophia, I need you there, Marcus had said that afternoon. Just in case. You know how these dinners go. I might need files, contracts, whatever. I should have said no. But I needed the job. Needed the paycheck. So I went. The club was exactly what you'd expect. Dark wood. Leather chairs. Men in expensive suits are discussing things that probably skirted legal boundaries. I sat in a corner. iPad ready. Waiting. That's when I saw him. Luca Moretti. I knew who he was. Everyone in New York knew who he was. Legitimate businessman on paper, real estate, construction, hospitality. But the rumors whispered something else. Something darker. Organized crime. Money laundering. The kind of power that came with a body count. He was at the bar. Alone. Which seemed wrong for a man like him. 6'2". Dark hair. Sharp features that would have been beautiful if they weren't so hard. Eyes that were almost black in the dim light. He wore power like other men wore cologne. And he was looking directly at me. I looked away. Focused on my iPad. But I felt him moving. Crossing the room. You're with Davenport. His voice was low. Smooth. The kind that made you lean in to hear better. I looked up. Up close, he was even more devastating. Sharp jaw. A small scar above his left eyebrow. And those eyes, calculating. Assessing. I'm his assistant, I said. Kept my voice professional. Cool. Sophia. Hearing my name in his mouth did something strange to my pulse. How do you? I make it my business to know who's in the room. He gestured to the seat beside me. May I? I should have said no. Should have made an excuse. Should have remembered who he was and what he represented. Instead, I nodded. He sat. Close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive with notes of cedar and smoke. What's a woman like you doing working for a man like Davenport? Paying rent. Student loans. The usual. A slight smile touched his lips. Practical. I respect that. And what's a man like you doing alone in a room full of people who probably owe you favors? The smile widened. Who says I'm alone? I'm talking to you. It was a line. A smooth one. And I should have rolled my eyes. But something about the way he looked at me, like I was the only person in the room, made me forget to be smart. We talked for 20 minutes. Not about business. Not about his reputation or my job. About books. About the city. About how Manhattan could make you feel completely alone in a crowd of millions. Sophia. Marcus's voice cut through the moment like a knife. I looked up. He was across the room, gesturing impatiently. I have to go, Luca finished. Of course. But as I stood, he caught my wrist. Gently. Have dinner with me. I don't think that's a good idea. I'm not asking you to marry me. Just dinner. Mr. Moretti. Luca, he corrected. And I'm very persistent when I want something. I've noticed. Is that a yes? I should have said no. But instead, I heard myself say, one dinner. His smile was genuine that time. Tomorrow night. I'll pick you up at 8. That dinner turned into 3. 3 dinners turned into 2 weeks of late-night conversations. 2 weeks turned into a month of sneaking away from my own life to be with someone who represented everything I should have avoided. Luca was different from what I expected. Dangerous, yes. Powerful, absolutely. But also funny. Thoughtful. He listened when I talked about my day. Asked questions about my family. Made me feel seen in ways I'd never experienced. Tell me something true, he said one night. We were in his penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. The city glittered below us like scattered diamonds. What do you mean? Something nobody else knows. Something real. I thought for a moment. I'm terrified of becoming invisible, I admitted. Of being 35 and realizing I spent my entire life being someone's assistant. Making someone else successful while I disappeared. He studied me for a long moment. You could never be invisible, Sophia. You're the kind of woman who commands attention just by breathing. That's not true. It is. You just don't see it yet. He moved closer. Cupped my face in his hands. I see it. We made love that night. Slow. Intense. Like he was trying to memorize every inch of my skin. And afterwards, lying in his bed, I felt something I'd never felt before. Safe. Which was insane, because Luca Moretti was probably the least safe man in New York. But in that moment, wrapped in his arms, I believed it. I believed we could be something real. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. I was at Luca's penthouse. He was in his study, on the phone. Speaking Italian in that rapid-fire way that meant business. I was in his bedroom, looking for my earring. That's when I found the folder. Tucked under a stack of contracts on his nightstand. I shouldn't have looked. But my name was on the tab. Sophia Reeves. Inside were photos. Of me. Leaving my apartment. Getting coffee. Walking to work. Surveillance photos. And beneath them, a full background report. Family history. Financial records. Employment history. Everything. My hand started shaking. There was a note clipped to the front. Luca's handwriting. Verified clean. No law enforcement connections. No debts to rival families. Proceed with acquisition. Acquisition. Not a relationship. Not girlfriend. Acquisition. Like I was a piece of property he'd researched before purchasing. Sophia. His voice from the doorway made me jump. I turned. Held up the folder. What is this? His expression didn't change. Didn't even look surprised that I'd found it. Research. Research? You had me investigated like someone I was bringing into my life, he finished calmly. Yes. This is insane. This is necessary. He moved into the room. Do you have any idea what my world is like? The enemies I have? I don't bring people close without knowing exactly who they are. I'm not people, Luca. I'm... What? My girlfriend? His tone was almost mocking. We've known each other 6 weeks, Sophia. You think I risk my family's safety on feelings? The words hit like a slap. So what am I to you? An acquisition? A thoroughly researched investment? You're someone I care about. Someone I want in my life. But I'm not naive enough to do that blindly. You had me followed. You dug into my entire life without my permission. That's not caring. That's smart, he interrupted. In my world, trust gets you killed. Then maybe I don't belong in your world. Silence. He stared at me. Something unreadable in his eyes. Maybe you don't. The words were quiet. But they might as well have been shouted. I grabbed my purse. My coat. Sophia. Don't. I walked out. Out of his penthouse. Out of his building. Out of his life. Or so I thought. 2 weeks later, I missed my period. Music stops completely. 3 pregnancy tests. All positive. I was carrying Luca Moretti's child. No. Children. The ultrasound showed 2 heartbeats. Twins. I sat in that clinic bathroom, staring at the grainy images, and knew exactly 3 things. 1. Luca could never know. 2. I had to disappear. 3. I had to do it perfectly. If you're feeling the tension building, hit that subscribe button now, because this story gets even more intense. And drop a comment telling me, would you have run, or would you have told him about the twins? I want to know what you think. Music resume's ominous undertone. Planning my disappearance took 3 weeks. I'd saved $18,000. Not much. But enough to disappear if I were smart. I told Marcus I was quitting. Family emergency out west. He barely looked up from his phone. I closed my bank accounts. Opened a new one in a different name. I bought a used car with cash from a lot in Queens. I changed my phone number. And on a Tuesday morning in March, I drove out of New York City with everything I owned in the back seat. Heading nowhere. Just away. I ended up in Millbrook Falls, Vermont. Population, 3,847. The kind of town where everyone knows everyone. Where strangers stand out. Which is exactly why I chose it. I became Sarah Bennett. Recent widow. Moved here for a fresh start. Nobody questioned it. Small towns love taking in broken people. I rented a tiny house on the edge of town. Got a job waitressing at the local diner. And I waited. For my belly to grow. For the twins to arrive. For Luca Moretti to somehow find me and destroy the fragile peace I'd built. But he never came. Months passed. 6 months. 8 months. The twins were born on a snowy November morning. A girl and a boy. I named them Aria and Julian. Aria had my eyes. Julian had Luca's dark hair. Looking at them was beautiful and heartbreaking in equal measure. They were 3 months old when I saw them on the news. The diner's TV was playing in the background. I was wiping down tables. Then his face appeared on the screen. Luca Moretti, head of the Moretti crime family, was indicted today on multiple charges including racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy. My blood turned to ice. The footage showed him being led out of his building in handcuffs. His expression was blank. Controlled. But for just a second, as the camera swarmed, his eyes met the lens. And I swear he looked lost. Mr. Moretti's attorney claims all charges are baseless and politically motivated. Trial is set for. I stopped listening. He was being destroyed. His empire was collapsing. And some small, terrible part of me wondered, if I'd stayed, could I have helped? But I looked down at Arya, sleeping in the carrier on my chest. At Julian, in the stroller beside me. And I knew. I'd made the right choice. Even if it felt like dying. Music transitions to quieter, more reflective tone. 3 years passed like that. Working at the diner. Raising the twins alone. Building a small life, but mine. Arya's first word was mama. Julian learned to walk at 11 months, running before he could balance properly. They were brilliant. Beautiful. Everything is good in my life. And every day, I lived in fear that someone would take them away. That Luca would find us. That the Moretti family would come for what was theirs. But they never did. I started to believe I was safe. Started to believe we'd actually made it. Then came the night of the knocking. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. I was nursing Arya. Julian was already asleep. The house was quiet except for the soft sound of her breathing. Then. 3 sharp knocks. My heart stopped. Nobody visited this late. Nobody visited at all. Another knock. Harder. More urgent. I eased Arya off my breast. Buttoned my shirt with shaking hands. Put her in the bassinet next to her brother. Crept to the door. Looked through the peephole. And saw him. Luca Moretti. Older. Harder. But unmistakably him. Blood soaked through his white dress shirt. His face was ashen. He swayed. Caught himself against the doorframe. Our eyes met through that tiny circle of glass. I watched recognition dawn on his face. Shock. Disbelief. Sophia, he mouthed. Then his knees buckled. He collapsed against my door with a heavy thud. For 5 seconds, I stood frozen. Every instinct screamed, don't open it. Call the police. Run. But I saw the blood pooling beneath him. Saw his hand pressed against his side, trying to stop the bleeding. And I couldn't. I couldn't let him die on my doorstep. I unlocked the door. Opened it. He half fell into my entryway. Sophia, he gasped. His voice was rough. Pained. I didn't know you were. Shut up, I hissed. Just, shut up and don't move. I grabbed towels from the bathroom. Pressed them against the wound in his side. Gunshot. Entry wound, no exit. The bullet was still inside him. I need to call an ambulance. No, his hand clamped around my wrist. No hospitals. No police. They'll. You're bleeding out. I know. His eyes met mine. Even half dead, they were intense. But hospitals mean questions. Questions mean. A soft cry from the living room. Arya. Luca's head turned toward the sound. His eyes widened. Is that? Don't, I warned. Don't even. Another cry. Then Julian joined in. Both twins are waking up. Crying. Luca stared at me. At my unbuttoned shirt. In the living room, 2 3-year-olds were crying. I watched his mind work. Calculating. Sophia. His voice was barely a whisper. Are those? I said don't. But he was already pushing himself up. Stumbling toward the living room. I tried to stop him. Luca, you need to. He reached the doorway. Froze. The twins were standing in their playpen. Arya is clutching her stuffed rabbit. Julian was rubbing his eyes with tiny fists. Both of them stared at the bleeding stranger in our living room. Luca looked at them. At Arya's dark curls. Her brown eyes were exactly like mine. At Julian's face. At Julian's face was a perfect, miniature copy of his own. The silence stretched. 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 Then Luca's legs gave out. He collapsed. Not from blood loss. From shock. "They're mine," he whispered. It wasn't a question. "Luca. They're mine." Louder. More raw. He stared at me from the floor. Blood is still seeping through the towels. "You were pregnant. When you left." "You were." "Yes." The word came out broken. "And you didn't tell me. You vanished. Disappeared. I looked for you. 4 months I looked." "I know. You let me think you were dead. Or worse. I thought," his voice cracked. "I thought I'd driven you away and you'd." "You did drive me away," I said. "You investigated me like a criminal. Treated me like someone who could get hurt because of me," he shouted. "Like someone I needed to protect." The twins started crying harder. I moved to them. Picked up Arya. Soothed her. "You're scaring them," I said quietly. Luca stared. At Arya in my arms. Julian is still crying in the playpen. At his children. Who didn't know him? Who flinched away when he tried to move closer? Something broke in his expression. "I have a son," he whispered. "A daughter. And they don't know me." That was the point. "Sophia." "Sarah," I corrected. "Here, my name is Sarah." He flinched as I slapped him. "You erased yourself. Became someone else. Because of me. Because of what you represent. What do you do? The danger you bring everywhere you go." I gestured to his bleeding side. "Case in point." He looked down. As if he'd forgotten he was dying. "I need to get that bullet out," I said. "And I need you to stay conscious long enough for me to do it. You know how to." YouTube and desperation are wonderful teachers. I'd learned a lot in 3 years. Including basic field medicine. Because in a town this small, you learn to handle emergencies yourself. I got my supplies. Sterilized needle. Tweezers. Vodka for disinfectant because I didn't have anything better. "This is going to hurt," I warned. "I've had worse." I didn't doubt it. I worked quickly. He bit down on a leather belt to keep from screaming and waking the kids more than they already were. The bullet was deep. But I got it out. Stitched him up with hands that barely shook. By the time I finished, his face was gray with pain. "You should rest," I said. "Can't. They'll come looking." "Who?" "The Rossi family. They're making a move. Trying to take what's mine." He tried to sit up. Failed. "I can't stay here. If they track me, then my children are in danger." The words hung between us. My children. Not our children. Mine. His eyes darkened. "They're mine too. Biologically. But you don't get to claim them just because. I've missed 3 years, Sophia." His voice was ragged. 3 years of their lives. First steps. First words. Everything. Because you decided I didn't deserve to know. I decided they deserved to be safe. From me? I'm their father. You're a criminal. The words exploded between us. Silence. Julian and Arya had finally fallen back asleep. Their soft breathing was the only sound. Luca looked at them. I would never hurt them, he said quietly. Never. They're. He stopped. Swallowed hard. They're everything. And the way he said it. Like he meant it. Like seeing them had fundamentally changed something inside him. Made me terrified and hopeful in equal measure. I need to know what you're thinking right now. Should Sophia give Luca a chance? Or should she run again? Hit that like button if you think he deserves to know his kids, and drop a comment with your honest opinion. Because this next part is going to test everything. Luca stayed. Not because I wanted him to. Because he physically couldn't leave. The wound had weakened him more than he'd admit. And because, he said, leaving now would lead the Rossi family straight to us. They're tracking my phone. My car. Everything, he explained. I ditched the phone. Stole a car. But they're smart. They'll figure it out eventually. So what's your plan? Disappear. For a while. Let them think they've won. Then come back and destroy them. And my children? Our children, he corrected. And I don't know. I'm figuring it out. He slept on the couch that first night. I stayed awake. Watching him. Watching the twins. Wondering what the hell I was supposed to do now. Morning came too fast. Arya woke up first. Climbed out of the playpen. Walked right up to Luca, sleeping on the couch. Poked his shoulder. Who are you? She asked in her tiny voice. Luca's eyes opened. He stared at her. At her dark curls. Her curious expression. His voice caught. I'm a friend of your mama's. You got boo-boo. She pointed at his bandaged side. Yeah. A boo-boo. Mama fixed boo-boos. She did. Your mama's very smart. Arya considered this. Then climbed onto the couch next to him. Curled up against his uninjured side. You stay? She asked. Luca looked at me. Standing in the doorway. His expression was devastated. Hopeful. Terrified. I don't know, sweetheart, he said softly. But he wrapped his arm around her. Held his daughter for the first time. And I watched this dangerous man, this criminal, this killer. Hold a 3-year-old girl like she was made of glass. Like she was precious beyond measure. And something in my chest cracked. Music softens to emotional. That morning changed things. Julian woke up an hour later. Less trusting than his sister. He hid behind my legs. Stared at Luca with suspicious eyes. That the bad man? He asked. No, baby. Just a visitor. He's bleeding. He got hurt. But he's okay now. Julian didn't look convinced. But when Luca offered him a toy car, Julian's favorite thing in the world, he inched closer. Took the car. Rolled it across the floor. And when Luca rolled it back, a game started. Small. Simple. But it was something. I made breakfast. Pancakes. The twins loved pancakes. Luca sat at the kitchen table. Moving carefully. Arya on his lap. Julian in his own chair but watching Luca with interest now. They look like you, I said quietly. Julian has your eyes. Arya has your stubbornness. A ghost of a smile. That's definitely mine. We fell into silence. But not uncomfortable. Just careful. Like we were both terrified of breaking whatever fragile truce this was. I need to know your plan, I said finally. The Rossi family. How long before they find you? A week. Maybe less. And then? Then I deal with them. Meaning? He looked at the twins. Meaning I end this. Permanently. You mean kill them? He didn't deny it. It's them or me, Sophia. And now, He glanced at Arya. Julian. Now I have more to lose than just myself. You can't bring that violence here. Not around them. I won't. I'll lead them away. Make them think I'm somewhere else. Then what? You come back? Play happy family? Why not? The question was simple. But it hit like a bomb. Because that's not how this works, I said. You can't just what? Be a father? Try to be part of their lives? Be part of my life, I corrected. You don't get to waltz back in, Anne. I'm not waltzing anywhere. I can barely walk. He leaned forward. Serious now. I know I don't deserve this. Deserve them. But I'm here now. And I'm not walking away. You might not have a choice. There's always a choice, Sophia. You made yours 3 years ago. Now I'm making mine. Which is? His eyes burned into mine. I'm staying. However long it takes. Whatever I have to do. I'm fighting for this. For them. He stopped. But I heard the unspoken word. For you. 3 days passed. Luca healed faster than I expected. He was strong. Stubborn. And surprisingly good with the twins. He played with them. Read those stories. Let Arya paint his nails bright pink and didn't even flinch. He taught Julian how to stack blocks taller than before. He made them laugh. And I watched this man, this criminal who I'd spent 3 years running from, become a father. It was terrifying. Because some part of me, the part I'd tried to bury, still loved him. On the 4th night, everything changed. The twins were asleep. Luca and I were in the kitchen. I need to tell you something, he said. What? The reason I was investigating you. 3 years ago. I stiffened. Luca. No. You need to hear this. He took a breath. There was a woman. Before you. Her name was Catalina. She worked for a rival family. Got close to me. Fed them information for 6 months before I found out. He paused. Pain in his eyes. She cost me 3 men. Good men. They died because I trusted the wrong person. I said nothing. So when I met you, he continued, and I started feeling, when I started caring, I got scared. Paranoid. I needed to know you were real. That you weren't using you. Yes. So you had me investigated. Yes. And I know how that sounds. How it felt. But Sophia, he reached across the table. Took my hand. I never wanted to hurt you. I just needed to protect myself. Protect what we were building. By destroying my trust? By being smart. In my world, trust gets you killed. And love? I asked quietly. What does love get you? He was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I've never let myself find out. The words hung between us. Until you, he added. My breath caught. Luca. I loved you then, Sophia. I was just too damaged to say it. Too afraid to believe it was real. His grip on my hand tightened. And when you left, when you disappeared, I thought I'd lost my chance. Forever. Tears burned behind my eyes. You can't say these things and expect. I'm not expecting anything. I'm just being honest. For once in my life, I'm being completely honest. He stood. Moved around the table. Knelt in front of me. I love you. I love our children. And I know I don't deserve a second chance. But I'm asking for one anyway. I stared at him. At this man who'd broken my heart. Who'd found me bleeding and broken on my own doorstep. who'd spent 4 days being the father our children deserved. "I don't know if I can trust you," I whispered. "Then don't." "Not yet. But let me prove it. Let me show you I'm different." "And if the Rossi family comes? If violence follows you here? Then I'll die before I let it touch you or the twins." He said it so simply. Like it was a fact. Like his life mattered less than ours. And I realized. He meant it. Every word. I was about to answer. About to tell him. I don't know what I was going to say. Because that's when we heard it. Sound effect, car engines. Multiple vehicles approaching. Luca's head snapped toward the window. His expression went deadly. "Get the twins. Now." "What?" "Now, Sophia." I ran. Grabbed Arya from her bed. Shook Julian awake. Luca was at the window. Gun in his hand. A gun I hadn't known he had. "How many?" I whispered. 4 cars. Maybe 12 men. The Rossi family? Worse. My blood turned to ice. What's worse than the Rossi family? He turned to face me. And for the first time since I'd known him, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. "The people I took you from," he said quietly. "The ones who've been looking for you since you disappeared." I stared at him. "What are you talking about?" "Your father, Sophia. He wasn't just a gambler. He was." Sound effect, glass shattering. Front door exploding inward. Men in black tactical gear poured into my living room. Luca shoved me behind him. Raised his gun. "Don't move," someone shouted. But it wasn't directed at us. It was directed at. A man stepped through the broken doorway. Tall. Distinguished. Graying hair. And when I saw his face, the world tilted. Because I knew him. "Hello, Sophia," he said calmly. "Uncle Richard?" I hadn't seen my father's brother in 15 years. Not since Dad's funeral. Richard smiled. But it wasn't kind. "Not uncle," he corrected. "I think it's time you called me by my proper title." He gestured to the men surrounding us. Armed. Professional. Military precision. "Director Caldwell," he said. "FBI. Organized Crime Division." My legs went weak. "And you, my dear niece, have been harboring a fugitive. Raising his children. Becoming an accessory to." "She didn't know," Luca interrupted. "She had nothing to do with." "Oh, she knew," Richard said softly. "Didn't you, Sophia?" He pulled out a folder. Tossed it on my coffee table. Photos spilled out. Of me. At the diner. Of the twins. At the park. Of Luca. Arriving 4 nights ago. "We've been watching you for 3 years," Richard said. "Waiting for him to find you. Using you as bait to catch the biggest fish in organized crime." The room spun. You used me." "I protected you," he corrected. "Your father stole from some very dangerous people before he died. They were coming for you. I made you disappear. Gave you a new life. All I asked in return was that you help me when the time came. I never agreed to. Your father did. Before he died. He traded your cooperation for your safety." Luca's hand found mine. Squeezed. "Let her go," he said. "This is between you and me." "Oh no," Richard smiled. "This is very much about her. You see, Sophia, you have a choice to make." He gestured to his men. "Testify against Mr. Moretti. Tell us everything you know about his organization. Help us put him away for life." He paused. "Or refuse. And I'll make sure those twins grow up knowing their mother chose a criminal over their future." "You can't." "I can. And I will." His eyes hardened. Your father owed a debt. Now you're paying it. One way or another. Luca's grip on my hand tightened. I looked at him. At the man I'd run from. The man I'd hidden from. The man I was terrified I still loved. Then at Richard. My uncle. FBI. The man who'd apparently been manipulating my entire life. What's it going to be, Sophia? Richard asked. The twins started crying. Frightened by the strange men. The broken door. The tension. Arya reached for me. Julian reached for Luca. And I realized. They'd already chosen. They'd chosen both of us. Music crescendos. I opened my mouth to answer. Richard spun toward the noise. What the? The window exploded inward. More men. Different uniforms. And at their front. A woman. Mid-40s. Severe expression. Authority radiating from every pore. She aimed her weapon directly at Richard. Director Caldwell, she said coolly. You're under arrest for corruption, evidence tampering, and conspiracy to commit murder. Richard's face went white. Agent Torres. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Your operation to catch Moretti? It was a cover. You've been working with the Rossi family for 2 years. Using FBI resources to eliminate their competition. She gestured to her team. Cuff him. As Richard was dragged away, screaming about jurisdiction and lawyers, Agent Torres turned to me. Miss Reeves. Mr. Moretti. I'm Special Agent Diana Torres. Federal Witness Protection. And I'm here to offer you both a deal. Luca and I stared at her. What kind of deal? Luca asked carefully. Torres smiled. The kind where you both disappear. New names. New lives. New location. In exchange, Mr. Moretti provides testimony about Director Caldwell's corruption and the Rossi family's operations. She looked at the twins. Still crying. Still terrified. Your children deserve better than this, she said quietly. Better than running. Better than looking over their shoulders forever. She pulled out a card. Set it on the table. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, I can't protect you from what's coming. Then she left. Her team. Richard. All of them. Gone as quickly as they'd come. Leaving Luca and me alone in our destroyed living room. With our crying children. And an impossible choice. Sophia, Luca said quietly. I looked at him. I need to know, he continued. What your uncle said. About testifying against me. About choosing. Were you? No, I interrupted. I wasn't going to choose him. I was never going to. Then what were you going to do? I looked at Arya. At Julian. At the life I'd built. At the man I'd run from. I don't know, I whispered. This is where I need you. I need your voices. I need your opinions. Should Sophia take the deal? Should she trust Agent Torres? Should she run again? Comment below with your answers. And if you're desperate to know what happens next, and I mean desperate, losing sleep, refreshing YouTube desperate, then subscribe and turn on notifications. Because part 2 drops in 72 hours. And trust me, you're not ready for what I'm about to reveal. Hit that like button if your heart is racing right now. Because mine is too. But there was something Agent Torres had left on the table. Not just her card. A photograph. I picked it up. And my blood turned to ice. It was a photo of my father. Alive. Dated 6 months ago. On the back, a message in handwriting I recognized. Tell Sophia I'm sorry. Tell her the debt was never real. Tell her. The message ended there. Unfinished. I looked up at Luca. My father, I whispered. He's. Sound effect, phone buzzing. Luca's burner phone. The one he said he'd destroyed. He pulled it out. One message. From an unknown number. We read it together. Your father isn't dead, Sophia. He's been in hiding. Working with me. To take down the real threat. The one that's coming for your children. Meet me at the old mill on Route 7. Midnight. Come alone. Or Arya and Julian die tomorrow. Your mother. My mother. Who died when I was 10. Who I'd mourned for 16 years. Was alive. And threatening my children. I looked at Luca. He looked at me. And we both knew. Everything we thought we understood. Every choice we'd made. Every person we'd trusted. Was a lie. To be continued. Part 2, The Mother Who Never Died, coming in 72 hours. Subscribe now or live in suspense forever. I mean it. Don't make me hunt you down.